Nights every time. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. What's going on this dark December night? October night.
Dystopian night?
Yeah, that too. Hey, so here's what's on the agenda. We watched some things. We're going to talk about some things. We'll probably talk about some other things. That's what we do.
That's what mans do.
That's what mans do.
Yep.
The things that mans do. But first, hey, you two, what's going on? That felt like a, hey, you two.
How you doing?
Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? I was waiting.
Like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
The things we say before anyone shows up to the stream.
Right, yeah.
They're usually better than the things we say after.
Yep.
Yeah. None of us disagreed with. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's October. It's October time. I've been trying to immerse myself in scary things, but also been rather busy with work, so haven't been able to immerse myself in as many scary things. Actually, looking at it now, I've only watched 4 movies this month.
You've been pretty good about your list, though. You've been doing a social media list
Oh yeah,
movies. You're still on top of that?
every day, because I have a life, so I can post horror movie recommendations on Facebook and Twitter every day because I'm, got a life.
Yeah, I started doing it too, but I was only going to do the 13 days till Halloween. I'm not going to do a whole month. I can't do that.
Well, doing the 31 horror recommendations for October, I was smart about it. I didn't think of, I forgot about it till the second, so I was like, well, here's the first and second. But I was smart about it because I'm like, oh, what day am I on? Just got to look at the date. The 20th. Sweet. Makes it easy. I don't have to keep track of the numbers.
Right.
So.
That's true.
And I started doing themed weeks. But
that probably helps.
It does.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been watching some things. Jesse, what you been up to? You been watching anything exciting? Anything weird?
I really haven't watched a whole lot. I'm about a week behind on the Rings of Power, and so I know that's over. Like the finale came out. The main thing that I've watched this week was Game of Dragon House Thrones.
We are behind on that one, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
It was good. It was good.
Was it?
Yeah. And it has no Matt Smith in it. It has no Rhaenyra in it at all. And so I was like,
wow.
What's this about? And it wound up being like, they wound up having like a whoa moment at the end. And I was like, oh, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? And then when it was like, I want them to do this. And then they did that. And I was like, oh, but that's even better. So that's how I give you a review without actually spoiling it for you.
Without saying anything.
Yeah.
But
I really didn't say anything. But people who know, if you know, you know.
It's a good review because I don't know, but I'm excited to see now.
Yeah. That final moment was just like, good tension. And I was just like, this show's so much better than the real thing.
What's the real thing, though?
The real thing is the Game of Thrones, right? Like,
right.
This show is better than the Game of Thrones. I think it is. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just sucked in by the first season. Maybe this is how I felt about the first season of Game of Thrones. Maybe that's it.
Interesting. Okay.
But I'm like, this is good TV.
I mean,
All right.
yeah, I think we're just 1 week behind. And I dug the last episode we watched, which maybe we're 2 weeks behind. No, I think just one.
No, because I think we talked about it last week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dug that one. Well, I think part of the reason we haven't watched it yet is because
It's long.
Well, I mean, kind of actually. We have been opting for shorter shows just because we've been busy. But somebody finally broke down and gave the mouse some money so we could watch some She-Hulk. Because one night, Melanie's like, "Why aren't we watching She-Hulk yet?" And I was like, "Oh, Melanie wants to watch it. Okay, I better go buy Disney Plus." So I bowed before the mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost access to another thing, too. That sucks. We're going to have to figure something out.
Hulu, that's right. I was curious about where the Steve Carell abducted by a serial killer show was going. That was pretty good. The Patient or whatever. We were watching that. But yeah, so She-Hulk. And I know, Jesse, you've been talking about it for weeks
Right.
on the show. So Melanie, what do you think of
What?
She-Hulk? We are, and for anybody, just so people know where we're at, we haven't watched the whole season. We're 5 or 6 episodes in. We just watched the wedding episode where she goes to her friend's wedding. If you know the show, that's where we're at. So Brian Cox has not showed up yet. Okay. Maybe that's a spoiler, but I know he shows up. If it's a spoiler, then everyone spoiled it already, because, yeah.
Brian Cox or Charlie Cox?
Neither
Okay.
of them have showed up.
All right.
Where's Brian Cox?
I don't know. I don't know who that is.
Charlie
Who's Brian Cox, Randy?
See, the best thing about my lighting is you can't tell when my face gets red.
Oh.
Daredevil.
Oh, yeah. That Brian Cox.
That Brian Cox.
We don't
Brian
know
Cox is like, he is an actor though. He's definitely
he?
not Daredevil.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah,
know gits about Brian Cox.
He's got that voice. He's an older guy. He's been in lots of stuff. I can't place any of it right now, but you know who Brian Cox is.
Wait, he was on. He was in Daredevil? He was in Daredevil?
Was
no,
he?
Oh, okay.
not necessarily.
That would be uncanny.
He was in Manhunter in 1986 and Braveheart in 1995. Okay, hold on. You guys know the guy. Let me pull up some
Let's see
image
him.
just so people like. I didn't
These are
just
not
invent
making
a
somebody
fictional-
up. This is a real actor, and
Yeah.
This is probably the guy I was thinking. Share the screen.
oh, okay. I
Yeah.
do know that guy. Yeah.
That's Brian
I know that
Cox.
guy.
all right.
Well, I don't know this guy. He's also some imposter Brian Cox.
Who,
That
get out of here, imposter Brian Cox.
No, he does the British like journalism television stuff. Like
Yeah.
Our Planet or something like that,
This is the only Brian Cox we recognize,
Right.
and I'll stand by it.
Is he the sheriff from Super Troopers?
Maybe.
He might be. I think he is, actually. Looking at
Okay.
him.
So,
It's looking there, standing there looking all distinguished, and I'm like, Super Troopers.
Right. I'm sure that's what he wants to be remembered for.
right.
Being the only straight man on that show.
What's funny is I didn't say it because it wouldn't mean anything to any to you guys, but like the first role that I know he's in that pops in my head is like he does a voiceover in, I think, the Rockstar Games Manhunt, the first Manhunt game. I think he does the voice of, like, I don't know, the announcer or the guy that's in it. I don't know, but he does a voice in that, and that's the first thing that pops in my head. I couldn't remember any of the shows he was in. Manhunt, yeah.
Cool.
I never even
the
beat
one.
that game. That's a game.
So anyway, She-Hulk. So I like it. It's fun and it's funny, and I feel. But the thing that I don't like about it, I'll say that, it feels very Disney, and I don't like that. I mean, I understand not everything's gonna be hardcore, and it doesn't have to be hardcore, but it does. It seems like it. Aside from like maybe a little bit with some demons, they didn't really do a whole lot of actiony stuff yet. I don't know. Maybe they will later. So it feels very Disney, but it's being played on Disney. So there you go.
Well, you even said though yourself, I think maybe before we went live, that like it's not a superhero show, it's a lawyer show.
Yes, I did say that. And
Well,
that's how they,
I think
say it.
more than anything, it's a comedy, right? Like it's a half hour comedy.
Yeah.
So I don't think the actiony things. I'm sure there's more in there, but I'm not. I don't think that's supposed to be the draw. I think it's fine. It's not as consistently funny as I would like. Whatever. Give me a laugh a minute. No, I mean it's like sometimes it lands. It's all right, and then other times it's just like, okay, well, we're just doing this story, and it's kind of amusing.
It's more like quirky funny than it
Yeah.
is like like Deadpool funny. It's like it's
Right.
more like The Office kind of funny, or
It has made me hide my face a few times, I'll tell you that.
oh yeah,
I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
what do you think of the CGI? Because that's a big criticism, and I think it's fair.
It is fair because sometimes she looks real weird and out of place.
Yeah.
Most of the time, she looks weird, and it's. I mean, okay. Looking at her in the scene, like if it's a still, it's like, yeah, she still looks out of place because she's a huge green woman, and like very unnaturally so.
Right.
But more than that, I don't think that's what makes it weird. It's the movement, especially walking scenes, and that's not easy. And they're doing, I mean, she's not always hulked out, but they're still doing a half-hour comedy TV show. I know they got
Exactly.
Disney money, but with a full CG character in most episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's TV show money for a show that I'm sorry to say to the world, but it's about a female. It's not gonna get as much of anything as a show about a man or a baby alien, So
What?
that's just the way it is.
Don't
For
you
what
speak bad of the Mandalorian.
I think that they've done really good with the CGI for what they, I'm sure, were given to work with. You know what I mean?
And part of it, I think, is also stylistic decision. They had Bruce Banner in there the first episode, and I mean, I think it was probably wise of them to channel like a bunch of resources into like the first episode to make sure it gels. But he didn't look as weird as she often looks,
Right.
and I think it's a stylistic thing. I think she is intentionally very stylized in a kind of unnatural way. She's like extra smooth, but that's because she's
Right.
not supposed to be rugged like the Hulk. She's the She-Hulk.
Yeah, but still, I mean, there's a difference between being rugged and having detail, and that's what it is. She lacks detail. But yeah, maybe it is a style choice, I guess. But maybe it'll improve also as time goes on, because, I mean, I don't know when they decided on this, but it seems like it came kind of quickly. And for like the Hulk, the character in the other movies, didn't they spend like forever with him in a suit and like mapping his face and all his wrinkles and all his lines and all his this and all his that,
Right.
Well, they've had over how many years now to
Yeah,
get the Hulk
right.
right? Like that first
Right.
iteration of the Hulk is probably not nearly as good or smooth as this one is.
Right,
Y-
exactly.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe over time it'll improve, even more than it is now. But I don't think it's that bad.
They do a nice job of even like playing it into the humor of the show about like the CGI. Like there's a point. I don't want to spoil it though. But
I mean,
again, the meta humor, the fourth wall breaks, like
Uh-huh.
the way that she addresses the camera, that continues.
Yeah, you had mentioned something about her addressing the camera or something, but I remember seeing headlines about how She-Hulk, I don't know, it's the new Deadpool, or they've got two Deadpools. What are they going to do with two Deadpools? Man, I feel like if people miss like the point of Deadpool for one, if that's like their thought process, because she addresses the camera, she does, because the show does fourth wall breaks and she'll do very meta jokes, and there's been a couple that were pretty funny. There was one I remember you alluding to Oh, what was it? I can't recall offhand. Oh no, the one, the one where Bruce Banner's like, I was literally a different man back then. You know,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. That's yeah, it's meta humor. It's fourth wall breaking meta humor, but like,
It was clever, you know. It was like that
Mm-hmm.
actually took me a second. And you blink, you miss it. It'd be like, oh yeah, that's right.
but that the idea that's like, well, that's their new Deadpool. It's like that's
It's a
no,
different.
because
It's a different thing.
Deadpool, like the meta Deadpool thing is that's like essential to his character. He's zany, wacky, meta, in to the point where in the comics he would do fourth wall breaks in other people's comics, and people would be like, "What are you doing? Like, who are you talking
Right.
to?" Like, you know, he's like just always like that. Whereas this is like it's the style, it's the show style. It's the
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a yeah.
It's more like, I mean, like if you're going to criticize this, then you have to criticize the way that they handled it in WandaVision, because it's
Right.
the same deal. It's like
Right.
those moments where she's, I don't even remember the style of show she's channeling, but it's like got a confessional moment where she's literally talking to the camera like a confessional
right.
cam.
Like
And
if they
that's
then
like
went
this.
if they then went and like if She-Hulk showed up in Loki or something and started talking at the camera, it'd be a little weird.
Sure.
I mean, to be fair though, actually Loki's weird enough that a fourth wall break wouldn't be that out of place. But you know what I'm saying? Or she showed
Yeah.
up in the next big Marvel movie and starts talking at the camera.
She shows up in Sam Wilson's Captain America and does it.
That
That's gonna
wouldn't
be
make sense, and it wouldn't work because that's not essential to her character. But if Deadpool showed up in any of those properties, you'd almost expect it at some point that he's going to start
Right.
doing that, even though it's not his thing. Like because that's part of his character. This is just like a show choice.
But if he did do that in a show, the people there would react to it like he was crazy. Also,
right.
to be fair.
Right.
But I was gonna say another thing that I don't. I'm sorry. This is what we do. I don't like that they dump on her all the time for being single. That makes me unhappy because she shouldn't be so. I mean, like I have room to talk, but she shouldn't be so insecure. She should be like, I don't care that I'm single. It doesn't matter. I don't need a guy. I'm fine. If it happens, then it happens. That's what she should be like. I don't like them. Yeah, I don't like that they make her feel bad all the time for being single.
But that's what the what was it? Futurama? It was like single female lawyer. Like that was like
Yeah, I know.
a spoof show in Futurama, which was
Yeah.
like Ally McBeal and man, even further back, what was the one with what's her name? Candice Bergen or something? Murphy's
Yeah.
Law or something.
Right. No, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I'm reaching way back.
Yeah.
I hated that
hitting our
show.
Demographic tonight.
Yeah.
Right. That
With
show
our
was on
Brian
when I was a
Cox
kid, okay?
references and yeah.
No, I know
Candace
exactly what you're talking
Bergman.
about.
Watch out, Paul, I'm catching up to you. Paul's
We all
like
do
10 years
eventually.
younger than us.
we all do eventually. We say about the young guy.
Yeah, no, I remember that show, and I actually remember it being a big deal because she was a single mom, and people were like, "Oh my gosh," because she was in real life and on the show, and it blew Republicans' brains apart. And I was like, "Yes." Sorry. But anyway, so as I was saying,
Yeah.
yeah, I think she should either be more secure or not care, or give her a boyfriend who's just like, you know, like her plaything or something. That would be good.
They may get there. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but
I will say I this is something like this is not a thing I'm into, but it's something I became aware of when that
so this is not a man thing.
no, this is not a well, it is a man thing, but it's not my man thing, which is a uncomfortable thing to say. But so there was what was it? One of the like a fairly recent within the last couple of years Resident Evil game that came out was pretty popular, and like there was a central villain that was like a giant woman, right? And that became a thing. A lot of people were like, whoa, whoa, you know, like it became a thing. I think that awoken like a weird fetish in a lot of people, and I have a feeling this show's gonna do a similar thing to some people. Be like, wow, like just
Oh yeah.
so.
Yeah, they have like
That's a
death
thing
by-
that popped in my head.
They have a death by snoo snoo.
Yes.
Fetish.
Yes.
boy.
Right.
Oh, and you all saw the scene that broke the internet, or the after credit scene, or mid credit scene, or whatever.
Was that the one with was it Megan the Stallion?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
Wait, that broke the internet?
Yeah, like people
Of course.
flipped out because of that. The twerking.
That's
They
like
flipped.
That's
that was
okay.
handcrafted to break the internet.
I think so. I think this whole show was
Yeah.
because like they're poking the bear the entire time, and it's like this is entirely too timely. Like y'all knew what you were doing.
Yeah. Yep.
I
I
don't
don't
think I
even. I don't. Sorry. What?
I don't think I follow current events enough because I don't know what. I don't even know who Megan the Stallion is, honestly.
You don't. You are. You do not have your finger on the
I have
really
no
the
clue.
pop culture pulse.
No, not at all.
I mean, Hey Turner, what's going on? Turner chimes in with a Hulk twerk. Turner, is that your mustache these days? That is magnificent. Wow. I'm not trying to be a jerk. Like legit, I haven't seen Turner for so long. In my head, Turner, you still have like baby boy face. That is a healthy stash.
That's a Sam Elliott stash, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll stop drawing attention to you though. I'm sorry.
See, I don't know who Sam Elliott is either, so.
Yeah, we're just really all the old guys
Sam
and
Elliott
gals. Yeah, just
reminds me of Brian Cox and Candace Bergen. Jeez, what is this show?
I don't know. I got a Kevin Costner head behind me.
Yet
Keep it super timely.
somehow I'm the one who's schooling Melanie on like you don't have your finger on the pop culture pulse.
Oh, we're so relevant and with it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever felt so old.
Oh, get used to that.
Oh, I know. I'm on Twitter and bouncing around various YouTube channels enough that I at least catch a lot of references. But that does lead me into like I don't know. Oh, Turner says he gets that a lot. That he looks like Sam Elliott. I mean, that's definitely
go.
that's that kind of stash. Yeah, it's good. People love Sam Elliott. Sam
Yeah.
Elliott.
Is he an old cowboy? I think
Yes.
I might know who he
Yes.
is. I do know
Yep.
who he is, then I
The
think.
dude
Yeah.
abides.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the overall reaction to the show has been to She-Hulk.
There's a lot of people who hate it.
Oh,
But I think
yeah,
there's
it's
a lot.
not a
I mean,
surprise.
surprise. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like this is tailor made to create that outrage because, like, yeah. But I think there's a lot of people that like it. I like it. I mean, overall, I think it's funny. I think it's quirky. If it's not funny, it's at least quirky. I like that it's kind of like going against the grain of the all the hero shows. Like this is definitely not Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
No.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like that's been my through line with this since with the Marvel Cinematic Universe since they kind of like hit that wall of like, well, what do we do after Endgame and, well, I guess Endgame was the thing. Infinity War and Endgame. And I think the answer was a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah,
I,
just get
I
weird.
dig it.
Yeah.
You know,
That-
you know what? Sorry, my favorite thing about the show so far, and I'm hoping there will be lots more of it, is the different superheroes that you meet, or I don't know if you're gonna call them superheroes, whatever. Like I don't know what they call them in this world.
Oh,
But
like the lawsuit,
like
the
the immortal, and the chick that was
Oh,
pretended
yeah.
to be Megan, the whatever. Yeah, like those people. That's fun. I like that. I like being able to
Yeah.
meet the different people every week.
yeah, quirky superhero. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good vehicle for that kind of humor, and also
Yeah.
exploring weird Marvel C tier characters. Maybe like that's.
Oh yeah, they had the Wrecking Crew. Did you saw that?
I
Scene,
don't.
Didn't you?
I'm not
No,
sure.
I don't think
The
I don't
so.
know, I'm not
Crowbar.
Crowbar. Is that like the guys that attacked her?
Maybe that's coming up.
That might be
Okay.
coming
Okay.
up.
I thought that there was did she get jumped or anything?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
fairly
Okay,
early.
that
on,
was the
she-
Wrecking Crew. right?
Okay.
With the-
okay.
Okay.
they had yeah, like they're actually kind of big time villains. Well, not big time, but
Oh,
like
wow.
they're fairly well established villains in the Marvel U. And I was like, what? This is the Wrecking Crew. They have like Asgard. They basically stole a bunch of like
Yeah, we
useless
did.
stuff from the Asgardian armory. So their crowbar is like
It's very glowy.
like super powered or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't know
Yeah,
they were
because
people,
she's
but
like,
yeah.
"Would you steal that from Asgard?" They're like, "Yeah." I mean, kind of a good segue. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it tonight because I think Jesse, if you whenever you get a chance to watch it, it'd be a good discussion. But Werewolf by Night is a good example of like them being able to like, and also it's partially enabled by Disney Plus, where they don't have to channel huge blockbuster money into a property. They can do a weird one-off Halloween special or whatever,
Right.
or a series. Although, man, their series, I'm sure they put still a ton of money into it.
Yeah.
But Werewolf by Night was good fun. It was very entertaining. Melanie and I watched that, and I liked it quite a bit.
It felt like it should have been part of a series, honestly.
Right. It almost does feel like
Like a soft pilot for more of these.
maybe, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like I was like, it almost feels like it could be a pilot, or like how even though it was like a big series, Moon Knight was like, it almost feels like that could set up Moon Knight to be introduced into other properties, which I don't know that they're going to do. And this feels like they've got these monster characters now. They can maybe introduce into other things, but I kind of don't really see them necessarily doing that. I kind of hope they do. Maybe it really is just going to be a one-off special, but or a somewhat cheap way to like gauge audience interest is probably more what it is.
I think they have a better chance of going somewhere with this than they do with other similar things that I've seen, partially because they did go kind of hard a little bit on some of the violent type stuff, but the characters were all almost cartoony. They were they were very definitely characters, and I think that is part of the appeal of it. Even like the I guess the main character that you follow, right? I think of him as the main character.
Don't go spoilers though.
I'm not going to. He's got a very distinct look, and
Right.
and feel to him. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, no, it's cool that they get to play, and that's like, it works better in this format where they get to play with. It's very genre, but it's not necessarily superhero genre. Like this, they get to play with fun, like adventure horror genre. Moon Knight was very much like almost, Indiana Jones, globe-trotting adventure. Loki's very sci-fi, Doctor Who, whatever, alternate universe hopping adventure. They're all adventure, but you know what I'm saying. Like it seems like they're really experimenting with different genres, and I'm okay if those genres are tropey. I mean, superhero stuff is groovy, but like, you can branch out in that, and that's kind of what I've really been enjoying. Werewolf by Night is a thing where I'm like, I enjoyed the second Doctor Strange movie, but they really need to pull Sam Raimi in for some of this kind of stuff, because he's taking their superhero stuff and making it Sam Raimi style horror. It's like, just give him an actual horror property. Maybe he doesn't want that. Maybe he doesn't want to be pigeonholed, but I think there's potential there.
Yeah. I agree. I think that you would like it also, in my opinion, Jesse. I recommend it for Jesse. I don't know about the rest of the world, but yes.
My friend Ben that we've had on the show, I think we've had him on the show. Maybe we haven't had him on the show. We've talked about him a lot on the show. He said it's one of the best Marvel things he's seen, and he's a
really?
big-time superhero guy.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. That's pretty high praise. I liked it. I don't know if I would fall into that, but I liked it a lot.
it did make me almost maybe change my mind about what I want to happen to me when I die. So there you go.
Oh yeah. There's some weird stuff in it. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Speaking of throwbacks, one of the things I did watch, and we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because I think we've talked about this in the past, but I went to the Alamo Draft House with Holly for the first time. She's never been to the Alamo Draft House, and we went because The Craft was showing.
Oh,
so we went to
nice.
The Craft and got to see that on the big screen.
Yeah.
So it was fun.
How does it? It seems like I've seen The Craft a lot. I've seen it a lot, but it's been several years since I've watched it. How's it hold up for you?
I mean, it's about the same. You know,
It's so
I mean, like,
90s.
yeah, oh, for sure, yeah. But like,
But
as far as like being dated goes, it's all right. You know, I mean, like,
Right.
some of the dialogue and whatnot is like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's how dialogue was in the 90s. You know,
Right.
But other than that, it's like, you know, it's still a pretty decent film for what it is.
Yeah. It always felt to me like they had too much of some stuff and then they like cut a big chunk of something that should have been there. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
I do like it though. I mean, there were the parts of it that I liked a lot. I'll say it that way.
yeah.
even back in the day, I was like, man, this is definitely like got that. Well, I don't think back in the day I was like, this has got that 90s teen thing. But like, it's a movie where I've always recognized like this is such a teen movie.
Right.
But at the same time, like, with some of the tropes and cliches that might go with that, but at the same time, it's like, but it's kind of good. It's the Craft.
Well, all I think is Fairuza Balk is the worst witch because she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in with Tim Curry. You know that the worst witch.
Oh, right,
that was
right.
her.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's in that and she's in this. She's a witch the whole time. It works out. I
think
like man.
Of all the things that are kind of dated, it's like that whole approach to relationships, but also it still rings true where it's like you only kind of want a relationship with this one person because they spurned you, kind of deal.
Right.
You're like it's like it's not very empowering. You know, you look back and it's like she puts a love spell on this guy that's awful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, it goes even worse. Yeah.
Right, right.
But we quote that to each other all the time, don't we, Randall?
We are
do
the
quote that-
weirdos, mister.
We quote
Yeah.
that
Yes. that's
literally
exactly
every
it.
time Melanie leaves the house. We quote that every time. Yeah, so Craft, it's cool. We only quote it like multiple times a week. There's like no other shows I think we quote that often.
But
Right.
that doesn't even it doesn't even count anymore. It's like past being that. It's its own thing now. You know?
Right. It's like a language.
Yeah,
Like shorthand, you know?
it is.
It is. It in jokes. That's what makes a
Right.
long relationship.
Yeah.
You guys keep talking. I have to step away for a moment.
All right.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
talk about whatever you want. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
So, like, speaking of in jokes, I one of the in jokes that Holly and I have has to do with the Wrecking Crew, which was in She-Hulk,
Right.
and it's Spider-Man just dropping a tricycle on one of those guys,
Okay.
and he just says, "Whoopsie, dropped my tricycle," and that is like. It's like one of those things that we'll just say when it's an awkward silence kind of thing. We'll just be like, "Whoopsie, dropped my tricycle."
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it
So
reminds me of
that's one of our in joke things. That's weird.
I like that. Randy loves absurd humor, I know. And that I think that would appeal to him. But ours are usually most of our stuff is stuff that we've said to each other. Just either randomly and then one of us got mad about, or we were mad at each other and one of us said it. Like,
Oh yeah.
I got your filing cabinet right here. That is classic because then the next week I put a filing cabinet in the living room and I put that on there. I got your filing cabinet right here.
Yeah, there
So
you
now
go.
it's a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally do think though that in jokes make people make a relationship stronger.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like a language that you have that nobody else understands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is correct. That wasn't for you. That was for Randy, who was walking by. Yeah. So what else were we supposed to be talking about?
Are there any other shows that you guys watched?
I have no idea. I can't remember what I watched earlier today, much less earlier in the week. That's why I have Randy. That's why we make such a good power couple, huh?
I heard you talking about I got my filing cabinet right here.
Just a little bit.
We watched Halloween Ends.
Oh man,
Oh,
see,
yeah.
I really wish I had, because like if it's as bad as the second one, then I will have so much to say. So, what should I get prepared for? Should I get prepared to hate this and just like make fun of it, or should I enjoy it like the first one, or should I do a little bit of both?
Okay, so no spoilers. I'm not going to do spoilers.
Right.
No spoilers on this, Melanie.
Does evil die tonight?
I'll try.
So
No, don't tell me that. Although I've heard that he's pretty much dead.
It's one where like I watched it and I had to wait a couple days before I put it on Letterboxd, and then even then I was just like, I don't really know how I feel about this movie. I think it's okay. I think it's better than Halloween Kills, but it feels less like a Halloween movie than pretty much any other Halloween movie in a way.
Even 3?
Yeah. Well, okay.
Oh, what?
No, I don't think more than 3.
I mean, if we're talking, okay, no, not more than 3, but I think it's got some good ideas, and there's some like good stuff to it. I think it's got some kind of dumb stuff. I think the most kind of irritating thing about it is how like I kind of, and this is not necessarily the movie's fault. Like I get like you need to separate, like judge the movie on its own merit, separate it from whatever came before, blah blah blah. It's like, except this and Halloween Kills was announced at the same time, shortly after the 2018 one came out, and so I think the safe assumption was like, oh, they have a big plot line, they have something plotted out.
Sure.
So then when Halloween Kills had a weird, sloppy, disjointed, feeling kind of rushed, ridiculous ending, which I didn't really care for, and I don't hate Halloween Kills. I feel like that's a movie I might hate more and more if I watch, like, more times I watch it. But I did not. I thought the end was kind of a mess and
Right.
sucked. But I kind of cut it some slack in my head anyway, because I was like, this feels like the middle part of a trilogy. Like it's
Right.
it's the second Matrix movie.
Oh yeah.
It's,
Well, except the second one's better than the third one, and if you're talking Matrix.
right. That notion's total crap, though. They did not have some big 3 movie. I was thinking about this before the show. I think they had one movie plotted out.
Yeah, yeah.
They pitched that movie, and they took and made 2018, and then took the extra that they had pitched for 2018 and stretched it into Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what happened. And then they're like, they agreed to 3, so let's bring on 2 other writers and let's do another movie, because it's, and this isn't spoilers, I guess maybe for Halloween Kills, but like Halloween, here's what's super irritating, and I understand like there's a big time gap between the two, but Halloween Kills ends to where they've almost like built Michael Myers up as to like he's almost a supernatural, unstoppable force. He seems stronger than ever.
Right.
We end with like a voiceover of Laurie. I'm so over Laurie, and the hot take. I'm kind of so over
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, come on. But we end that movie with a voiceover where she's like, he's evil. It's become evil personified. Blah blah blah. And I get they kind of made Laurie the Dr. Loomis character. Well, in the second one, they made everyone the Dr. Loomis character, but
Right.
with her like talking him up, and he became like almost this mythical evil. And then this movie starts, and I get some time has passed. Laurie's voiceover is like, so I bought a house in town. Everything's going fine. Yeah, he killed my daughter, but I'm moving on. I'm moving past it. And
That does not
that's-
feel like the
that's a
same
spoiler.
character that we were introduced to in the first one.
that's
Right.
not a spoiler because that's like the beginning of the new movie.
Yeah, I know.
The other spoiler thing is like,
Don't spoil it. Yeah, don't say it.
well,
This movie, you are correct. You are 100% correct. This movie does not feel like it was planned or part of the other movies. The only thing that they did that I feel really connects it is, besides her little, like, yeah, saying what happened, which doesn't count because that doesn't count, is a character that we wanted from the first one was there. But other than that, it was like it went a completely different direction, and they maybe kind of loosely tried to tie it into it with some unhappy stuff that I didn't really care for. And they did it better than like maybe Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th would have done it, but it's still the same stupid Halloween or not Halloween horror movie crap.
For me, I think the worst part of it is the ties. So I will say the stuff I liked though is if you take this as a weird one-off, somewhat off-kilter trying to do something different Halloween sequel, not as different as Halloween 3, but different, it's interesting, I think. Like,
Yeah.
I liked what they were trying to do. I don't think it always worked, but they were trying to do something different. So if you can separate it from the last two movies,
Right.
other than the
Sorry, I was just gonna say, yeah. If they hadn't happened and you just went straight to this one as the new one or the only one, it would have been fine on its own. But yeah,
right, or I mean, just the way Halloween Kills kind of feels like it's setting something up. That's the initial big disappointment, is that it wasn't, because they kind of like, I don't know, let's kind of reset a little bit with this one. I mean, they don't really reset, but it does have the carryover characters of Laurie's there and Laurie's granddaughter, I guess it would be like the character from, like,
Yeah.
she carries over. And a couple other characters that were in the other ones, but like, I'll say for the most part, maybe this is a spoiler, I don't know. Most of the movie, the main character is somebody who wasn't even in the other two. I'll say that.
yeah, that's true.
Kind of a big thing. The main character you follow most of this movie is a new character,
Yeah.
which is like, I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's worth a watch. I understand why it's getting the hate it's getting. I don't know that all the hate is merited. I don't know.
So Ben, again, I'm going to reference Ben, but he was a huge Halloween fan, and it's the reason that I watched most of them growing up was because he was so into John Carpenter stuff. Anyways, and he likened it to Halloween 6, to be the curse of Michael Myers. And that one's got.
Is that the Paul Rudd one?
That's the Paul Rudd one.
Okay. I don't think it's. That movie's a mess. I don't think this movie's that big of a mess. But I do. It seems apt to where it's like, they're not going as far as Halloween 3 trying something different, but they're clearly trying to do something different.
It definitely feels like oh gosh, what do we do? I don't know. Let's think up some things. Let's brainstorm, and then that sounds pretty good. Let's go with it. And it is pretty good, but it's not. It's not. It doesn't fit well with what they've been doing.
They should have killed some more true crime podcasters.
Yeah.
So I think my least favorite part of this like modern trilogy are the legacy characters. I think Laurie Strode, like I appreciate what they were trying to do with her character, at least in Halloween 2018. I loved that movie. But like, especially after the last one, after Halloween Kills, I was like, wow, get her out of there. Like they put too much stock on. I mean, the poster was all like Michael versus Laurie. It's like, come on, man. 40 years. We don't need that anymore. And then like the stuff with was it Tommy in the last one? He was like the most unbearable character to me in Halloween Kills.
Yeah, I was gonna say Anthony Michael Hall was my least favorite part of the new Halloween stuff that they've been doing.
And I know people dog on, especially with Halloween Kills and 2018, dog on the weird side characters that don't mean anything but are given like whole scenes. The couple that lives in Michael Myers' house in Halloween Kills, or
Big John and Little John are great, and you shut your mouth if you don't agree.
They redeemed that movie.
So I was like, if I did a fan edit, if I decided to take the time, and I won't, but if I did a fan edit, I think at least Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills is just Michael killing people on the way to his house. There's no legacy characters. The movie is just entirely the weird David Gordon Green side characters and Michael Myers killing people.
Right.
That's my cut of this whole trilogy. And in a way, you could kind of cut this one in to make that work. But yeah, I don't know. It's such like, I don't know if this is good or bad. It kind of seems bad, this movie, Halloween Ends. But I think there's interesting stuff. I almost wish, like, it almost shouldn't be a Halloween movie. I feel like I don't want to say, it's reminiscent of other horror movies that this, like, kind of plot line works really well. I don't want to say what those are, though, because that in its own is kind of a spoiler.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I feel like this would almost be more interesting if either they separate it from Laurie and the whole like last two movies entirely, or separate it from Michael Myers even entirely. It might have been stronger as a movie.
Yeah, it definitely has a feel like there's a movie and then they slapped on some Halloween stuff here and there. That's kind of what it feels like. That totally is it.
I will say, it looks nice, like. And maybe that's part of also why it, just another little thing of like why it feels kind of so different is it's filmed kind of differently and it looks nice. It looks nice. I don't think Halloween Kills, the way it was shot, didn't really stick out as bad to me. I mean, it has some really cool stuff, especially like the flashback where they kind of emulated the look of the original film. But I do kind of feel like stylistically this is kind of a step up. There's just some really nice shots, some interesting sequences. Haddonfield
Michael's are his kills as brutal?
There are some brutal kills. I feel like there's not all that many, to be honest. Like I think the body count, definitely the body count I think is lower, but what's there? They're real brutal. There's some real gross ones. There's one that Melanie made a like a audible sound, and I cringed at it. It was pretty hardcore. Do you know the one I'm talking about, Melanie?
Not right offhand, but I know the types of things that I do that to. Yeah.
There's some pretty hardcore ones.
Because I'm thinking about like Halloween Ends, and like there's that scene where he's just like stabbing knives into the guy.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my god, it's
Man,
so
that one-
robotic and detached, you know.
That one wouldn't get me. The things that would get me would be like either eyeballs under your fingernails or like slices. Or anything to do with teeth. Anything to do with teeth grosses me too. Ugh.
Yeah, there are some pretty brutal ones. They're brutal and grotesque, but not necessarily as mean. No, they're mean-spirited. There's some real brutal kills in it. So yeah, it's hardcore. I kind of want to watch it again now that we're talking about it.
and you're like, I don't know if this is good or not.
I don't know if it's good. There's, it. I kind of felt more baffled afterwards than I did like with Halloween Kills, where I was like, yeah, I really want to like this, but like I'm also real conflicted. This one I'm conflicted, but not in as, I don't know, enthusiastic of a way. So maybe that's some type of indication. I say watch it though. I say if you're curious, watch it. If you, I don't know. I see so many posts about people who are like, well, Halloween fans aren't gonna like this one. I'm just like, well, why did you watch it then if you're not a Halloween fan? And so is it only for non-Halloween? Like there's ridiculous, but it is like one of those movies where it's very contentious. Red Letter Media, not to bring them up, but like I watched their video on it. They did a video on it, and I was super curious. I was like, I wonder what they think of it. They loved it.
Huh.
They loved it, and I don't.
Are they best of the worst people?
Yes.
Okay, well.
You don't like them, I know. And I don't always agree with their stuff, but generally their opinions are like, not terrible.
They were the ones that broke Prometheus for me.
Right.
Oh, they're right.
I didn't watch it, but I guess they had kind of a hot take on Nope, and I didn't watch it. I was like, but I liked Nope.
I wish they would have gone grosser with it, but that's me.
Did you ever get to see Nope?
I haven't seen Nope yet.
Nope.
I need to because I've enjoyed everything he's done so far.
It's fun.
So
it's fun. Nope has some legitimate. Oh yeah, I know. Melanie does.
I'm sorry. I'll try to be louder.
By the way, hey Maddie D.
Hey.
Nope has some legitimately scary stuff, and some really like bothersome stuff.
that's what I've heard. I've heard there's a really like I can't unsee that scene.
That's the one I think that they should have gone a little more on, honestly. I know what they're talking about. Everybody who's seen it does. I thought that they should have explored that more, but everybody else disagrees
Well,
with me, so I guess when I'm wrong.
Are we talking flashback stuff?
Oh,
I don't know.
Wait, Melanie, were you?
No, I was not.
Oh, okay. Well, I know there was like an entire character and subplot cut out of the movie. So I was just gonna say, like, if there might have been more to what you're talking about, but I'm not sure what part you're talking about now. So to wrap up our Halloween Ends discussion, Nope's pretty good. You should go watch that.
You should go watch that. Just say nope to Halloween
Just
Ends.
say nope. No, Halloween Ends. It's fine. It's fine.
Sure, give it a watch. It's not any worse than Halloween 6. So there you go.
David Gordon Green. I can't tell if they're trolling, because I feel like everything about this movie is subverting expectations. And this has a lot of similarities, I think, to the modern Star Wars trilogy in that way, where when it starts trying to subvert expectations and then fans get mad. But because, it'd be like, here's the thing, from Halloween Kills to Halloween Ends, it'd be like if in, the second of the modern Star Wars trilogy, they're like, no, Rey's just her family was garbage people. She's not a Skywalker, got nothing to do with Skywalkers. And then in the third movie, they're like, you know what? She was a Skywalker. It's like, then what was that whole last movie? You just ignored everything about that last movie. That's a little bit.
Did that? They just didn't say you're a Skywalker.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a little bit of the feel I got of this, is like, oh man, that Halloween Kills, crazy ending, build up big, huge, like unstoppable evil force. So 4 years later, Laurie's doing good. We don't know where Michael's at. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Why
Yeah.
would you be okay? You weren't okay for the last 30 years.
She spent 40 years ruining her daughter's life because she was like obsessed with Michael Myers. Michael Myers finally kills her daughter, and she's like, you know what? I think it's time to move on.
Maybe
It's like,
that's
what are you talking about? That doesn't even
Maybe-
make sense from a character point of view.
maybe she just didn't like her daughter, and so
She just wasn't good at empty nesting.
oh man.
I think we figured it out.
That's it.
Good.
I tell you what,
Did
though.
we just ruin the Halloween franchise?
Oh no, that's been done multiple times
good.
over.
Okay, good.
If we did, we were not the first.
Oh,
We
right.
won't be the last.
Right. And we weren't paid to do it, so there we go.
Yep.
I think you summed it up.
You know,
What?
John Carpenter tried to prevent all this. I mean, he didn't more recently, but he tried to prevent all this. He's like, I don't want to do. It doesn't need to be more Michael Myers. I don't want to do one. It's like, well, come on. You need money. We need a sequel. He's like, fine, but I'm gonna shoot out both of his eyes and blow him up at the end of part 2. And they did. Michael Myers is dead. We're gonna do a news story for part 3. They tried to move on.
Right.
People wouldn't
That's
let
true.
him.
Nope.
You know, then that, you know,
Do you want H2O? This is how you get H2O.
yeah. Oh man, so terrible. Man, here's the thing with the internet is like, over a long enough timeline, people like come around to just the worst movies. I'm sure there are huge H2O Halloween H2O, not deniers. What's the word?
Apologists.
Yes.
I
Which is-
remember being stoked when it came out. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
New Halloween movie that you can see in the theaters. And then we saw it.
Right.
We were like,
And the sad
that
thing
was
is
a show.
that's the like best of that time, the best that of that timeline, because then that ended up with frickin' Busta Rhymes doing karate kicks on Michael Myers. Come
Right.
on, man.
Yeah.
They just need to not.
You know what else they just need to not, or can we move on?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Okay, so what they need to not, or I guess it could also be what you should be amazed by. Is,
That's a sweet
Sneaky.
segue.
That was sneaky.
researchers planted clumps of lab-grown human neurons in the cortex of newborn rodents, which demonstrated that interspecies transplant could tap into the rat's senses. So after 2 weeks of training, the rats learned to sip water when their new brain accessories, they call them, were stimulated with light, indicating that human cells successfully engaged with their behavioral circuits. I think that that's gross and wrong, and I don't think that we should mix our brains in with other animals' brains or try to control their brains. But that's me personally. But they're excited because these are more complex organoids that they can work with than what they can grow in a petri dish. But
This is how you
personally,
get. This is how you get Full Metal Alchemist chimeras, and that is just
Yeah.
a bad scene waiting to happen. If you've seen
And
it, you
Planet
know
of the
what-
Apes, which doesn't end well for us.
No.
No. Do you want Planet of the Apes? This is how you get Planet of the Apes.
Like best choice would be Willard, which is horrible choice. So there you go.
Right.
Okay, real quick, Melanie. I know you were not impressed by the story, but what about the mouse car one?
What? No, that's old, but everybody knows that. That's fine. They put a bunch of mice in cars, gave them little robot cars, or not robot. They gave them little bitty cars they could drive, and then they let them go into mazes with them that were built big enough for the cars, and they found out that they would just drive around in them. They didn't really care about like getting to the food at the end. They just wanted to drive the cars. So they just like driving cars, and I was like, yeah.
This is
Do
how you
really
get the
need-
mouse and the motorcycle.
Do you need science to know that? I think if you gave anything a car, they'd be like, whoa! You know?
That was Stuart Little Nuts, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I like that story a lot.
Yeah.
The idea that it's like, they discovered, yeah, they like mice like to joyride. Why not? If they can
They
figure
don't
out
even
how
want
to
to
do it.
eat.
Yeah.
Also, this makes me think: is this how we get splinters? Because I'll take a splinter.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking
fair
about
enough, yeah. Hamato
Ninja
Yoshi.
Turtles. Yeah.
Well, then not if we're doing it in America.
Right.
Well, because there are no rats in America.
Yeah, but they don't know
It's not even
martial
that's
arts.
not even how it goes.
Yes.
Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got nothing. So, wait, I do have something.
Okay.
I want to show you something because this sounds like the worst idea. This is not a thing I bought. Melanie's. I don't know how your family acquired this. It was given to them, and they're like, "This sounds disgusting." Randy, do you want this? And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds disgusting. Let's try it." Have you seen this? Mountain Dew Flamin' Hot.
Oh, I saw it, and I passed on it, and now I'm like, ooh, I passed on. Like usually I try it, even if it's awful.
I mean, I buy Diet Pepsi. I know Diet Pepsi is not really better for you, but whatever. I buy Diet Pepsi, so I generally don't buy Mountain Dew, nor
Right.
non-diet Mountain Dew. But if somebody wanted to gift it to me, I'll try it.
Sure.
Most of the 12-pack's gone. I don't hate it. It's so weird. It's very weird though because
So does it taste like cheese?
No.
it's orange in color, like orange soda.
Okay.
So it's got that, right? Yeah, that's my thing. I was like, so is it supposed to taste like Flamin' Hot Cheetos? Like what? Also, a Flaming Hot drink, cold soda seems like a horrible
yeah.
idea. It sounds like
Right,
counterproductive.
yeah.
So, weirdly enough, it's supposed to have a blast of heat and citrus. So weirdly enough, I feel like it tastes like Mountain Dew, except less so. Like it's got a weaker taste, in my opinion.
Uh-huh.
But it still has like the one thing I do like about Mountain Dew is like if it's cold, it feels extra cold, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but Mountain Dew is like extra cold. And it's
Sure.
got that, like you take a drink and it's like just like weak tasting, but like cold and almost refreshing, but not really, but almost refreshing
Sure.
Mountain Dew. And then the back of your throat gets hot. Like you breathe out and you're like, oh, and it's got that spiciness. It's like, what? So I think that's
God, what is that doing to your organs?
that's the thing. Like, after a can of it, yeah, Paul. Sorry, Maddie D says, I've had a jalapeno beer, but never a spicy soda. Not sure about that. Yeah, it's really weird because, like I said, it's very cool. It's got that Mountain Dew quality, just not as some strong a flavor, which is weird. It doesn't taste spicy, but you drink it and then you breathe out and it's like, oh no, there's that heat. Like it's got the heat in the back of your throat and you breathe it out and you kind of almost feel it on your breath. But yeah, if I drink a can, I feel it in my stomach. I'm like, this does not feel like a thing you should consume. It does not feel healthy. Like,
I haven't done enough tests on it yet.
it hits you heavy.
I was gonna say, like the first one he drank, he was like, I don't know, but I'll try another one. And then he tried another one, and he's like, I might like it, I don't know. And then he tried a third one, and he's like, yeah, I think I do. So he had to like.
This is the careful. This is how you get pumpkin pie Kit Kats.
Yeah. Ugh.
First one, pretty okay. Second one, it's all right. Third one, oh God, I'm never getting this taste out of my mouth. Shouldn't have had three. Shouldn't have had three. Shouldn't have gone that far. It's a treat. It's a snack. It's just a snack. It's not meant to be a meal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'll open the fridge and, like I said, I've gone through most of the 12-pack because I'll open the fridge and I'll be like, I want something to drink, and I'll look and be like, that's not really refreshing. Like, but then I'm like,
But
I kind of like that. I kind of like that burn though. So,
it's a sensory experience. Oh,
it
God.
is.
Yeah.
It is. Like it doesn't taste good. It kind of almost tastes like nothing. But
Yeah.
it's got that burn.
This is how the rats feel. They're like, I don't know what that tingle in my brain was just now, but I'm not sure if I hate it or not.
Let's go with it.
I know that when I drive a car, though.
Not refreshing, but the burn hides the cocaine. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's better than rubbing your nose all the time. Like
I don't know if I should even say that because of not clients that I edit, but podcasts that I see all the time. Every time I see like somebody's like, they're always like touching their nose, like, and I'm just like, what do you got? Coke nose? What's your problem? Stop touching your nose. This is a video podcast. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
Keep your fingers out of your nose. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's none of my clients though. So,
Can I just? I'm responding to Maddie D.
This one?
Yeah. My sister, and her friends used to actually snort the sugar sticks that you can buy.
Pixie
when they
sticks,
were
yeah.
young. Yeah. I never did that myself. I guess I learned from my sister's mistakes. Good thing I had older sisters to learn from.
It's like pure citric acid in your nose.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
Right.
Maddie D, by the way, well, I don't know if maybe this will hit audio someday. Maddie D says, next thing you know, you're doing lines of Mountain Dew on a mirror in the bathroom. It's got that burn, though. I know it's not good for me, but it's got that burn.
Yeah. Clears the sinuses until you can't smell anything.
Goes down smooth, and then you get that fire. So, yeah. It's interesting. I just wanted to share that. It's such a weird anomaly. Well, thanks everybody. Hey, Jesse, you got anything interesting coming up you want to mention?
The Cobra Kai episode that I mentioned last week is out. So go check it out at covertnerd.net. And it's me
right.
and Lee and his daughter Ruth, and everyone, like about every year we get together and we talk about Cobra Kai, if there is Cobra Kai that year. And who knows, they haven't renewed Cobra Kai yet for season 6. So this may be the last episode. Who knows? Well, I mean, of us doing this thing, but we'll find out. Who knows? It made a lot of money. You know, I hear that it's actually gotten more streaming views than Lord of the Rings or Game of Dragon Thrones combined.
Oh wow!
Wow, really?
Something like
that's impressive.
It really got a lot of streams. I don't know what that means, but
it means Netflix
a lot of people
is
saw
cancel it. Means Netflix is going to cancel
Netflix
it
is
mid.
definitely not going to renew.
Netflix is, man, they're doing things.
Yeah, that's true. They are.
They're doing things.
Going to add commercials and all sorts of stuff.
As apparently next year they're cracking down on the password sharing. I don't know. Yep.
I don't really see how they can do that because we are two people, right? You and I. Well, Randall and I, not the world, not everyone listening and I. So if you're here and I'm, say, over visiting my family, I should be allowed to use our account while I'm there. So how are they going to police that?
They're going to, well, first off, they know because of IP addresses, of course, but yeah, they're like, okay, sure, you're on vacation. You use it there for like 2 weeks. Longer than 2 weeks? Nope, you're sharing passwords. I think that's how they're going to do it.
Are they going to give you a certain number of devices, or they already do that?
They already do that. That's the thing that irritates me. Like, it's in the plan. I pay for the plan that's like, hey, you can use this on 2 devices or 3 devices. Where those devices are and how long they stay there doesn't matter. 2 devices is included in my plan.
Right.
And that's 2 devices at one time. You can use 2 devices at the same time. Anything else, take a leap. Like, that's what irritates me about it.
Yeah.
When also, if somebody hacks you and just,
Right.
is using your account without your knowledge, then are you getting penalized because somebody else figured out your information and is stealing from you? Like,
I mean, in a way that it would probably cut down on that kind of thing, because then they'd know like what your main IP address is, and then if this other one pops up, they'd know after a while. I'll be like, they're probably password sharing and shut it down. Which would.
What if you use a VPN?
I don't. They don't like that anyway.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question, but yeah, they don't like VPNs. I don't think it's because like that sidesteps their licensing agreements, which is probably a thing they just have to not like. Like they probably really don't care, but
Right.
legally they have to not like it.
Right.
So I'm always surprised, like all the VPN commercials, you know, and the ad spots they do on like YouTube videos and whatever. That's like always their big thing. Like, you want to watch Monk season 17? Well, I don't know.
Yes.
Monk didn't go that long, you know, but it's not available in your country, but it's available in Guatemala. Just click this over to there, and all of a sudden
Right.
you're watching Monk season 17.
Yeah.
I don't know why Monk.
Well, like a good example also is like the WWE network. Is how you used to watch the pay-per-views, and it's actually it was a better app, and it was a better platform than trying to find all that stuff on Peacock, because now it's just built into Peacock because they've got a deal. And so like in other parts of the world, they can still access that because they can't access Peacock. And so like if you preferred that old platform and you have a VPN, you could just use the old WWE network,
Right.
which had a better search functionality and a better cataloging system if all you're into was the wrestling.
Right.
I was looking at getting Shudder for a little bit again because it's October and there's a couple things on there I wanted to watch. And then I was like, who owns Shudder? Because like depending who owns it, eventually I can see myself getting mad at HBO and ditching that. I'm not going to now, but eventually I could see maybe that happening depending how the Discovery, how that ends up going. It's like, I want to give my money to a streaming service that doesn't actively irritate me, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that there's dedicated horror streaming service. Shudder's owned by AMC, like the channel AMC,
Oh, yeah.
which, okay, I don't know who owns them. I don't, it's probably another place that owns. But in researching this, then I was like, oh yeah, AMC has its own streaming thing, AMC Plus, how original. But they got to stop with this pluses. Like they got to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's better than Peacock, but they just got to stop. Walmart Plus is their like delivery subscription service. Stop it. Stop it with the pluses.
Right.
But so I was like, oh, well, AMC's got its own streaming thing. Like what's included in that? Because they have like an interview with the Vampire Show, and I don't know, I've heard good things about that, so I was kind of curious about that. And included in that is everything that you can watch on Shudder, and it's like the same price per month. And I'm like, you're kind of ripping off your Shudder customers if that's the case.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
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 Why do
So-
Maddie D says, why do I find it funny you're using a detective show as a reference to steal views from another country?
Because Monk would never do that.
Right.
He couldn't get over it. He'd be just like, oh no.
Yeah. He'd be too nervous and neurotic about it.
Yep.
Unless it was like he accidentally stole something while he was trying to clean up or something like that, then it'd be okay.
Right.
But instead of getting Shudder or AMC Plus, I got Disney Plus. So
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
you're just feeding the machine.
generally, I don't do the thing with services, which I'm sure irritates services. But I think a lot of people do the thing where they'll hop on a service for a while until there's
Right.
nothing they want to watch, and then they jump off. And I generally don't do that. Netflix, I mean, I think I've turned it off once or twice when I was like, I don't think I have, I need to tighten funds.
Oh, sure.
But for the most part, I've fairly steadily had Netflix for like years, almost a
Right.
decade maybe.
Yeah.
And HBO Max, I almost expected to like kind of hop off at some point, but I'm like,
Right.
They turned
They
out
kept
to like,
putting good stuff on there. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I subscribed to HBO Max before, like I got on their pre-launch deal, right? But it
HBO
just,
Sorry, HBO has always had good shows though.
yeah, that's the thing. Like I don't want Home and Gardening Network crap, and that's what they're gonna introduce when they bring all the Discovery stuff over.
I don't want. That's not the content I signed up for.
No,
You know?
no.
If I
Like, why would
wanted
you
a bunch
mess
of
with it?
if I wanted a bunch of like Discovery stuff and what do you call them? like real movies. I don't know what they're called. You know what I'm called. I'd go over to Savannah's house and I'd watch all that stuff if I wanted to.
Oh, documentaries, yeah.
Yes, there you go, documentaries.
Anyway, we'll see how that turns out. Whatever. I wonder who owns AMC. If they're their own thing, that makes me respect them a little bit more. I just assume they're like owned by Warner Brothers or Disney. That's I guess maybe
Sorry.
Fox, but you know.
Maddie D's doing our commercials for us down in the comments.
Hey, there we go.
Maddie D says, totally unprompted, "Hey listeners, put your streaming money someplace worthwhile, like Patreon. Why pay for a lame streaming service when you can support a great show like Grawlix Podcast?
You really
At
can.
Patreon.com/Grawlix Podcast. You're right.
You don't need to pay for those services and watch them. You can just listen to us talk about how crappy they are.
That's true, and we will every episode.
Yep.
Every single one.
I think we will complain about streaming services every episode for the last 5 years. Maybe.
I mean, we're like we're like the South Park of things. I remember complaining about cable before the streaming services were the new cable. And like, I can't wait till it's just streaming services where you just pay for what you want.
we did that, yeah.
And now here we are.
In the future.
It's still not like what we had envisioned, though, in my opinion. Now it's worse because they're all like, I'm
It's
like
the monkey's
cable.
paw.
Pay for me. I'm like cable, but it's not. It should be like, okay, I want this with HBO and AMC and this.
Because
and
they
that.
couldn't help but
That's what
cableize
should be
it.
Like.
Yeah.
All right.
They cableized themselves.
Yep. We wished on a monkey paw.
Yep.
Well.
And I kind of envision more like Shutter's a great idea. AMC Plus is a great idea. Drop that to like $5 and I'd be okay
Right. That's
with
insane.
paying for like 4 services.
Right.
That'd be the
That's what
cost of like HBO Max almost,
Right.
you know? So
That's what I'm saying. A bunch of smaller ones that you could individually pick and pay a small amount for, that altogether would add up to the cost of like one of the streaming services, or maybe even 2. But you'd get a lot of options. You know, that's what
niche
I
down.
Wanted.
They got to niche down, but companies don't, companies want to be big companies. You don't get to be a big company by niching down. You get to be a big company by pulling in as many of everybody as you
Exactly.
can, just
Yeah,
all of them.
They're like the Blob. They just swallow everything around them, and it's gross, and you run away.
They wait for all these niche companies to go under, and then they just buy them.
Then they just buy them,
Yeah.
and they become
buy their
a husk.
catalog and add it to theirs.
Yeah.
They don't wait for them to go under. They wait for them to get popular, and then they eat them, so that the people that are already dedicated to it are like, well, I guess I'll have to get Disney Plus then, since they have the shows I want now.
That's true.
That's what they do.
It's like, even like with podcasts, like I was really into Startup on, what was it, Gimlet Media? That was the whole thing.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
they got bought by Spotify. And I haven't listened to a Gimlet Media podcast since.
I feel like a lot of people ended up leaving that company too. Like,
Probably.
I feel like it became. I could be totally wrong, but from what I've gathered, I feel like it became a husk of its former self, which is kind of what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't really, none of the show, because I was like, I wonder what Gimlet's doing. And then I tried to listen to a couple of the shows. I was like, it doesn't have the same heart it used to.
The most blatant example of that kind of business stuff is like, look to the video game industry, because they're notorious. Like
Oh,
EA and other like the large publishers all the time buy smaller developers, and you just know, like, every time. I don't know. I mean, I guess I get why developers are like, okay, yeah, buy us, but every time, especially with certain companies like EA and Activision, Blizzard, like, it's just like, well, that developer, like, because they'll buy them and then like make it like, this is now Blizzard East or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like they're gonna get maybe 1-2 games, and then that developer is gonna be totally dissolved, and that's what happens every time. It's like I think this is maybe was an EA deal, but the new Tony Hawk game, like, they brought on this developer who had done like a good like remaster of some other game, and they did the first good Tony Hawk game, even though it was a remake of 1 and 2 in like years, and people are like, "Oh yeah, and this developer's great." They like immediately then dissolved them and like spread them out and like, okay, you're making Call of Duty type games now. It's like, well, great, that sucks. And there's like apparently there were plans for another Tony Hawk, and that's just gone now. It's like, why? What is the benefit of that?
But video games are even worse, though, because they all do the thing where they're like, yeah, we're going to buy them, and then we'll take like half of the people that were working on this thing and move them over here to work on it with half the budget. And then when nobody there has the original code anymore because that was with some guy that got fired 10 years ago, and the game's not the same, then they're like, oh, well, it's just crap. I mean, we couldn't work with it, you know? No, it's because of the way that the business is run.
Yeah.
The way that, you know, not that individual business, but all of them.
The video game industry seems, and I realize we hear mostly the negative stuff, the crunch and like talk about Activision Blizzard, all that like horrible stuff, but like it seems awful. It seems like an awful industry to be in.
It's almost like it's a toxic place.
Yeah.
You know what else seems like you could make a lot of money, but it seems dangerous, and also kind of like they eat each other a lot, is the effects studios.
Oh yeah.
FX Studios. Maddie D says, "Isn't that the plot of Free Guy?" I mean, kind of, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
FX Studios, I feel like are similar, except like they don't get bought by the like movie studios. They just get used, and then they're bankrupted,
barely credited. Yeah.
And then they have to like dissolve.
Yeah.
If
only there was a gate that we could use to protect gamers, and we could call it a gamer gate.
you don't want to do that.
No?
You don't want to do it. You don't want to call it that.
Oh.
That's something else.
Oh. Too soon?
I mean, I don't know. I feel
I don't know.
I don't think there's such a thing, but anyway.
yeah, VFX houses. That does not sound like. Wasn't there talk of like a strike or something, like a VFX strike just recently, because they're like, "Hey, Disney, Marvel, like, you're screwing us, and we're tired of it." Or there was some headline just recently about how like VFX houses are like, we need to do something because this is not good for us.
And plus the chip shortage, so like throw like quality people, you know, and a shortage of the tools they need in order to do their job.
Yeah.
Mm.
Speaking of, I bought a video card.
Did you? Yeah.
I mean, video card, like the video card prices aren't like what they were. Like they're kind of, I mean, they're high, but they're like what the manufacturers are wanting.
They're not scalped or something like they had been.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought one, not top of the line. I know 4090s just came out, but it was still a good chunk of money, and I had anxieties. I was like,
yeah.
But I'll be building a new system, the new Intel process. Speaking of chips, how does Intel must just have had so many. I mean,
they're sold to Disney, something.
Right. They just have all the chips. They're like, chip shortage?
Right.
Hey, $1,500 graphics card, come get it. That's not scalped. That's manufacturer suggested retail.
Right.
Is it one of the big fat ones?
Not the one I bought.
Okay.
I didn't buy all the RTX cards are kind of big and fat, but no.
We're still talking about Man Thing?
No.
Oh, okay.
Close.
Big fat man thing.
Does it need its own support?
Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Man Thing.
Matty D's still on that Hellraiser Mickey Web.
Mickey Web.
At least that's what I think of.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, let's move on. So, and by moving on, I mean end the show.
Yes.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more, go to grawlixpodcast.com. Actually, go there and then follow the link to like the YouTube channel or something. That's the best place to get us anymore. So, grawlixpodcast.com. I think we actually I think we have a youtube.com/grawlixpodcast. I think we were in early enough before they locked down, like, that's only for partners. But anyway, thanks everybody.
Yep.
Thanks Maddie D and
Yeah,
Turner
thanks.
earlier. I don't know if Turner's still around, but if he is, hey, thanks. Thanks to everybody else.
And thank you, Brian Cox.
Thank you, Brian Cox,
Thank you.
for your fantastic acting talent. Jesse, have you seen the trailer for Seasons Beatings?
Oh no, but I've heard
Okay.
rumor and tell of this and how it looks great.
Oh, man, I wish we could do trailers on here. I'd get your reaction to it. Yeah, watch it. The
Okay.
short of it is, it's like, what if Die Hard, except instead of Bruce Willis, it's Santa, and Santa's played by Hopper.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's acting.
That's actually
Julian.
Yeah, that's what made me think of it. So anyway, yeah, go watch the trailer for that. I don't know if it looks good, but it looks fun. So, all right, bye everybody. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Bye.